Garcia. Let's give them a round of applause. So once again, we did have a coin toss backstage, and tonight, Sylvia Garcia will answer the very first question.
At 76% district, 29 is majority Hispanic. An estimate of 22% of all families live below the poverty levels. How do you plan to change what's been a historic poverty in District 29?
Well, thank you for that question, and thank you for hosting this debate, and thank you to the University of Houston for having us. You know, I grew up poor in South Texas. I'm one of 10 children. You know, I know the taste of commodity cheese and butter and peanut butter, and I know what it's like to have to work in the fields out in the hot sun. So I don't want anyone else going through that. I think what we need to do is protect the SNAP program, which is, of course, the old food stamp program. We got to make sure that people do not go hungry. And we need to make sure that we do everything we can to provide the education and job skills necessary so that anyone that needs a job can get a job and make it a job with a good livable wage to hold their families together. I think that's what we can do to ensure that everyone has a shot at the American dream and that we don't see the poverty that we do have.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Garcia.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Aronoff?
How do we create jobs? Well, I think we're proving that right now with the government cutting taxes and reducing regulations. The economy's booming. If my opponent would have been in Congress last year, she would have voted against the law that made all of this possible. So we need to continue to enable people and empower people to be entrepreneurial, get the government off their backs, reduce the taxes, and don't force them to have to run in so many circles that they can never open another business. So the way to get the economy going is to support people and entrepreneurship, and that's what I will do if I'm elected to Congress.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia, would you like to rebuttal?
Just a minute for rebuttal, and I think when you look at the tax cuts that were passed, it really just helped the upper 1%, the rich people, people who really aren't the people that you were asking about. I think to fully address poverty, we need to make sure that we create good jobs, again, that hold families together with a good living wage, and to make sure that they've got access to the training and jobs that they need, and not give corporations more tax breaks. I think you need to give it to the folks at the bottom so that they can lift themselves up. Thank you.
May I respond?
We'll give you one more rebuttal.
I can respond?
One more, yeah.
Well, ask every employee of AT&T who got a $1,000 bonus from the tax cut. Ask every employee of Walmart in the United States who got a raise from that tax cut. It filters down to the people, and that's why it's so important. People don't work to pay taxes. People don't invest to pay taxes. They invest for the returns they have on their investment.
All right, thank you. We'll move along.
So now we have one of our students who is ready with a question. So please tell us your name and what's your question.
Yes, hello, my name is Ignacio Hernandez, and my question to you is, what makes you passionate about District 29? What makes you compassionate about this district? And why are you the best representative for this district in such a vital area for this state?
Mr. Aronoff?
Okay. Well, when I graduated college, my father had a business in District 29 on Clinton Drive inside the Port of Houston. I spent the whole beginning of my career working in that district and learned to love the people there. I had 200 employees that came out of that district. So I understand what you need to do to create jobs in the district. My opponent has been in government for a long time and had a lot of responsibility over this district, and it's still the lowest income district in the state. And if she's been there all this time, how come she hasn't done anything effectively to improve the lives of these people? So I would wonder, why would you want to keep returning to somebody who has done nothing for the people in this district for all these years? So I understand how, because I've been there and I've done it. I'm fluent in Spanish, and I understand the people, and that's why I want to represent them in Washington in order to give them a voice rather than a career, lifelong politician.
Thank you.
Well, you notice the first thing he didn't say was that he lives in the district, because he doesn't. I live in the district. I've been working that district for many years. That's true. But I think what you have to look at is, all my life, I started out as a social worker, then a lawyer, then a judge, city controller, county commissioner, now state senator. All I've ever done is work for people to make sure that they have the access to good education, good health care, a good job, and that we protect everyone, especially our DACA kids, and make sure that people do not live in fear of deportation. My passion is for people, not for politics and not for profits. Just having a business in this district and speaking Spanish just doesn't make it. You have to live and breathe and know the people, work with them, go to their schools, sit next to them at church, go to the same grocery store, go to the same cleaners. That's how you really learn about a district. I'm passionate about public service. I'm passionate about serving people. I want to continue to be a champion in District 29.
That's your time.
Thank you.
So you were mentioning DACA. That is the next question, and Mr. Aronoff, you can answer first. Do you support DACA? Because I know a lot of students in Houston and in Texas obviously fall under this.
Absolutely. DACA is the right thing that was done in the wrong way. It was used as a political football to keep these people in debt to the former administration. If he would have reached across the aisle, the Republican Party would have been more than happy to work with him. The president right now says, I will work to make it legal, not for the 850,000, but for the full 2 million, including the ones that didn't subscribe, didn't sign up. So yes, I support DACA, but I support doing it legally. If we're going to be a nation of laws, we have to follow the laws. The president did not have the authority to waive the law when he did. So yes, I will go to Washington and I will support welcoming these people into our country, their country too.
Mrs. Garcia.
Ms. Garcia, go ahead.
Well, I will thank you for the question. I've already talked about DACA and how important it is to protect our DACA students. And I'm not sure who these people are. I mean, I don't see DACA students, I don't see Dreamers as these people. They're human beings. They're all one of us. There are our teachers, there are our students. They've never known another country other than this one, and in their heart and soul they're as American as every single one of us in this room. I think what's important is that we focus on making sure that we reinstitute DACA, protect the Dreamers, reinstitute DAPA, and more importantly, do that in a way that is real negotiation. What's been talked about, particularly from the White House, is, oh yeah, we'll support DACA if you all go agree with the wall. Well, you can't put those two things together, which is why we're at a stalemate on it. So I don't believe in the wall, but I sure as hell believe in DACA.
That's your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have another student. Please come on.
Hi, my name is Shay Tatum. I'm a graduate student and non-traditional student here. According to the U.S. Ranking, the average age of a college student is about 25 years old. And some of those students have families, they work. And so do you have any plans to provide assistance through programs to help them navigate through the college life as well?
Ms. Garcia.
I'm sorry, do you mean after they leave college or while they're here?
Just while they're here, they not having enough money.
Well, I think the first thing we've got to do is make college more affordable so that they aren't stressed out and worried about how they're going to pay for it at the end of the cycle here. I think the second thing we need to do is make sure that for those students that already are in debt, that we have some sort of forgiveness program or some sort of discount program, or as was mentioned earlier by another candidate, some sort of service program, so that if you are a firefighter or a nurse or some giving profession, that you are forgiven some of the loan itself. But I think the key to all this really is just making sure that we put enough money into the grants and scholarships that used to be there. I mean, talk about outcomes. I am an outcome, but for the student loans and the scholarships that I was able to get, not only at Texas Women's University, where I went to college, and later here at Texas Southern University for law school, I would not be here. So I'm a perfect example of how these programs do work, because without that opportunity, there's a lot of kids that just don't get a shot at a good education, which then results at a good shot at the American dream.
Mr. Aronoff?
Having so much money available from the federal government pulled up the price of colleges and universities today. When the universities saw this great pool of money, and they're going to suck it out of the students, and you're ending up with these people in debt for the rest of their lives. It's beyond burdensome, the debt. Whereas today, some of the universities will pay a professor, one class, $350,000 a year. That money is coming out of your pocket and off your back, but because you have access to it, they're going to use you as a conduit with the federal government. The most important thing I would change in the student loan program is I'd make it dischargeable in bankruptcy. I think to make these people never be able to get rid of that debt is wrong, and that's the purpose of bankruptcy. Nobody wants to declare bankruptcy, but if they have to, it should be there for them.
All right.
Ms. Garcia?
Yeah.
Again, I'm a true believer in education, not only in the beginning with pre-K to higher ed, and also for training programs if someone chooses not to go to college, because not all of us will go to college. So whether it's for training for a better job, or whether it's a military service that they decide to do, we should be there to help lift up every single student, and I would be doing that if I get to go to Congress.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have another student.
Hi, my name is Alejandra Villarreal, and bilingual education is important for many students in the district, and I'm an aspiring bilingual education teacher. How will you work to support students who are English language learners and enhance bilingual education in our schools?
All right. Who wants to take the first question? Go ahead.
I'll go ahead. I happen to think the quicker you can mainstream these children into the English language, if they're going to live in this country, they should learn the language. To teach them in two languages slows them down and slows their learning down, and it hurts them. You may need to bring them in just to get them started, but there's too much bilingual education, too much of an emphasis on it. You got to look at more to get them into the main courses, the STEM type courses. But I think it's abused, the bilingual education today.
Ms. Garcia.
Well, I feel like it should be rebuttal time rather than just a response to the question, because I totally disagree with him. I don't think it hurts children. I don't think it stifles their learning. I think studies have shown just the opposite. In fact, many schools now go to dual language, whether it's Spanish and English or English and French or some other language. I think we're one of the few countries in the world that doesn't really encourage the speaking of two languages. But it all starts, again, not only bilingual education in college or training for that, but again, with Head Start, with pre-K, throughout the education system. You know, yo comencé hablando español en mi casa. I started speaking Spanish in my own home, and I did have the benefit of Head Start. So again, I'm a good outcome, aren't I? But I think it's important that we offer this to make sure that the student is learning and is learning in their own language. And I think that the role that we have is for continuing funding bilingual education to all the school districts in our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Garcia.
Thank you.
Mr. Liddon, go ahead.
Teaching two languages is not the same as bilingual education. Bilingual education is training students in courses in a different language, and that doesn't mainstream them into English. I'm a big supporter of multiple languages. That's why I speak multiple languages. So we do disagree. We disagree on a lot, but that's okay. That's why we're here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next student, please step up, state your name and your question.
Hi, my name is Dionisia Bardwell. I'm a senior here at the University of Downtown. My question is, Houston is often considered a hub for human trafficking. If elected, how will y'all support law enforcement officials at the local, state, and federal level on this issue?
All right, Mrs. Garcia, can you go ahead and answer?
Sure. Well, I think this is an area where I can cite where I already have a record. Obviously, I think it's abhorrent. It's modern day slavery, and regrettably, Houston is a hub for a lot of this. The corridor in I-10 between Houston and El Paso is the second most trafficked corridor in the country. We're number 2 in human trafficking cases. In the Senate, I passed a bill just this last session where every truck driver has to, at time of renewal of their commercial driver's license, get information on how to detect and track and report human trafficking. That's thousands of truck drivers out there that can get on their little walkie-talkies or whatever form of communication they have to call law enforcement. That works. That's a solution. So I will be about finding solutions in Congress to help fight human trafficking. And I think that we need to look at, the perpetrators, and we need to make sure that we have locally law enforcement task forces, the Attorney General's office locally, to make sure that we do more. We must stop human trafficking.
The number one law enforcement agency in human trafficking is ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. That is their principal goal, is to stop it. My opponent has called for the elimination of ICE and to not have them. And I want to know, what other police departments does she want to get rid of too? I mean, ICE plays such an important role. I know these people from ICE. I serve as a diplomat for the country of Hungary. And I've had a number of citizens from Hungary in ICE, under ICE control. And they are wonderful people. They take good care of the people. They care about the people. So if you want to do something for human trafficking, support ICE, because that's their main mission.
Thank you. Candidates. Next student, please. State your name and your question.
Can I have my rebuttal, please?
Sure.
Sure, Senator, go ahead.
Yeah, I think if you look, just real quickly, I think if you look at how, when ICE was created, it was created after 9/11, and their main mission was to go after terrorists. I think they do look at human trafficking, they look at other issues, but I think what's important here is that we look at ICE. Yes, he's right. I'm about repealing and replacing ICE. I think it's time to stop some of the things that they're doing, the inhumane policies that they have, tearing children away from their families, causing and putting fear in people from doing the most menial things that they have to do at home. So I think it's something that we need to look at, but I don't think it's true to say that that is their main mission.
Okay, thank you.
I just like to say.
Thank you. We really have to get to all the students, so I apologize. If you please step up, state your name and your question.
Hi, my name is Karen Valdez. I'm a freshman at UHD. And my question is, during the last year, the Me Too movement has revealed that sexual harassment, misconduct, and assault is a growing problem in our nation. How will you work to promote a culture of equality and positivity in Houston, Texas, and in our nation's capital?
Mr. Aronoff, go ahead.
Well, tomorrow the nation will be a witness to a Senate hearing on Judge Kavanaugh and the woman accusing him of misconduct. We must remain objective and look at all the facts and give Judge Kavanaugh the benefit of the doubt. The same right afforded to Senator Garcia when she was a judge accused of sexual misconduct by a woman who, one of her victims, and she must be heard and be given and Judge Kavanaugh must be given the same opportunity that at that time Judge Garcia was.
Senator Garcia. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's important that we focus on first applauding all the survivors, all the victims, for having the courage to stand up and say and tell their story. And I think that Dr. Ford should be heard. I think the Latina should be heard. I think the woman today that came out and told her story should also be heard. And I think that the Senate should be responsive to that. I firmly believe that we should always have independent investigations and that women be given a process for justice, but there be due process for both the person making the allegation and also the survivor.
Thank you.
Our next question. President Trump has imposed tariffs in some countries that are crucial to our economy. How will they affect the Port of Houston, its employees, and the local economy?
Senator Garcia. Did you
repeat the question?
Yeah, repeat
sure.
it. It just went a little fast.
Yeah, President Trump has imposed tariffs in some countries that are
what?
Tariffs.
Tariff.
Okay.
That are. I'm sorry, my accent is not going to change in the next 5 minutes. I'm sorry about that.
Lo digas en español y te entendemos, ¿eh? Lo digas en español.
Okay, so they are crucial for our economy. How will they affect the Port of Houston, its employees, and the local economy?
Is it my turn first now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Well, obviously, it will have a big impact on our Port of Houston, but it'll have an impact on a lot of ports. All the ports are across the country, and a lot of manufacturing and a lot of agriculture. I mean, it's across the board. I mean, I just feel like the president has gone tariff crazy. So I think this is not well thought out. I'm not sure what he expects to gain from this. I think it's going to hurt us in the long run. I think we need to think about the global economy and our role in it, and make sure that the United States of America keeps the position that we've always had, which is a leader in the world economy. So I don't agree with his tariffs, most of the ones that he's imposed, and I think it would have an adverse impact on our region and on our state.
Mr. Aronoff?
I spent my career in foreign trade, so I'm a free trader. I'm opposed to all types of tariffs. The president says he's using this as a negotiating tool because the other countries have been taking such advantage of it. Certainly China has, with the restrictions. In order to sell in China, you had to give them your secrets. And so he's doing this as trading. He's a tough negotiator. If he's successful, it'll be a fabulous thing for the country. If he's wrong, it's going to be a terrible thing, and I'll vote Democratic next time. So they have to be stopped.
Thank you so much, candidates. Another student question, please. Step forward.
Hi, my name is Alfredo Maldonado, and my question is, many students like myself rely on public transportation to get to UHD, work, and other areas in Houston. And my question is, would you support federal funding to expand rails and bus lines in the district?
Good question.
Rails
Senator?
and bus lines? Oh, absolutely. I support Metro and all their initiatives. I support the bullet train. As you know, I've been a county commissioner. I've built a few roads myself, and certainly has served on the region's Transportation Policy Council. So I think it is important. You know, I always say that it's almost as hard to get around as it is to get along. So I may not be able to help you get along, but I'm going to help you get around. So yes, I support rail and I support Metro.
Mr. Aronoff.
I believe one of the responsibilities of the federal government is to help build infrastructure, and I consider at least the rail part of the infrastructure. And the buses, they do move people, they're important. They can't be made self-sustainable. The city of Houston, we're all paying taxes to support the buses. But I support federal money for infrastructure purposes.
Thank you very much. We have another student, please. Come on in.
Hi, my name is Yenny Vasquez, and I'm a sophomore here at UHD. My question is...
Make sure you get close to the mic so we can hear you. Thanks.
There are still numerous Houstonians displaced by Hurricane Harvey now a year later.
What? I didn't hear that.
A little louder.
There are numerous Houstonians displaced by Hurricane Harvey now a year later. What plans are in place, if any, to expedite the return to normalcy?
Okay.
Well, I think that it's unfortunate that you're correct, that there are still people displaced and not back to where they were before Harvey. And frankly, for so many people in my district, Harvey just made poor people poor. So I think we need to do many things. And the first thing, of course, is to get them back on their feet with a good job. With training, with a livable wage, and I think we need to look at increasing the minimum wage to make sure that job is a good job. And looking into the future, we need to make sure that we bring more dollars, federal dollars, to build the infrastructure to make us more resistant, do more prevention projects, and more resilient for the long haul. I know earlier in the prior debate there was some discussion about the reservoirs. I think bigger than 3. We're a huge region. It's going to grow. Why are we looking at 3? If we do only 3, then maybe we'll end up in the same place that we are now. We should even start looking at 4. And again, I also think that it's important to build the surge protection, sometimes called the dike, to ensure that the next storm that comes, if there is a surge, that we're well protected. There are just too many people in and around the port area and around that region not to do that, not to mention the plants in the port. Thank you.
I am so proud of my friends Sylvester Turner and Ed Emmett for the job they did in bringing this city together and to help people. It was an amazing thing to experience and to watch. And so I agree with you that things have to be done. That's why they put through the $2.5 billion bond issue. I have such faith in these two men to manage the money from that. But I have told them both that if I'm elected to Congress, I'll be looking down from Washington to make sure it's spent right, and a lot of it in the 29th District, too.
Okay, thank you, candidates.
I just wanted to add that yes, we passed that one bond election, but it's not enough. Every infrastructure project costs millions and millions of dollars. And the Corps of Engineers sometimes can be as slow as molasses. I've had projects when I was county commissioner that just to get one study done through their process took 1 or 2 years. We can't afford to wait that long. So we've got to make sure that we bring in the additional federal dollars. We got to make sure that the state does its part and tap into the rainy day fund. And we need to make sure local governments do more. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. We have one more student question here.
Hello, my name is Eric Johnson. I'm a student here, a senior. This is a topic that we've already asked on, but since we're at a university, I think it bears repeating. Research is showing that student debt, the masses that students are getting over the years, is acting as a deterrent for some people to actually attend college these days. Is there something that you would do to help generate more state funding to aid in this debt repayment or forgiveness?
Okay.
Well, I think I've already mentioned about 3 things that I would do, and first make it more affordable, then look at forgiveness programs. And, you know, you said the state, but I was talking about feds, but, you know, the money comes down to the state for those grants and those loans. And I think that the state could also look at maybe, you know, making the interest rate on those loans a little cheaper. I know when I borrowed my money, I think it was either 2 or 3%, but now it's a lot more than that. So I think we need to do everything we can and to look at forgiveness programs, a discount on the interest rate, and maybe then you know, if you serve so many years in one of it's what I call the first responder, you know, helping professions, that you've also forgiven some of those loans.
Mr. Aronoff?
I believe that, as I said before, that they should be able to get out of this debt. Right now, they can never get rid of it in bankruptcy. But I also am a big supporter of the community college system. I mean, for people who don't have a lot of money, what a way to start, get your associate's degree. And if you really do well and work hard, you'll get scholarships and Pell-type grants, and rather than be saddled with these tremendous loans that they're being saddled with today.
Thank you.
Senator Garcia, would you like to repeat that?
A rebuttal?
Would you like to repeat that?
No, that's no.
Okay, so well, I was giving you the chance.
You didn't win. I just didn't want to do a rebuttal.
Okay, so a coin flip has determined that Mr. Phillip Aronoff will make the first closing statement. So you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you all for
Mr. It's Mr. Aronoff.
Oh, I thought I did first.
No.
Oh, you do. Okay. Well, you won.
You won. You had the better coin flipper. I got to talk to my guy about that. But the 29th Congressional District consists of Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents. This election's not about party, it's about people and issues that affect our district every day. The district needs someone who will work on solutions for the drug addiction epidemic, flood prevention, immigration reform, including support for the hardworking dreamers and defending family values. Faith, family, and personal empowerment, that's what brings hope to the district. Congressman Gene Green served this district faithfully for over two decades, for which we thank him and wish him a happy retirement. Senator Garcia refuses to resign from her Senate seat until next year so she can receive another year's benefits from her state pension. This is selfish, leaving the members of the district voiceless in the next legislative session. The Houston Chronicle ran an article which solved this problem by saying, "Vote for me," and she'll stay in the Senate. The tax cuts passed last year also established opportunity zones, including in our district. We will help bring businesses in to create jobs, taking advantage of the new tax code. Sylvia would have voted against these tax cuts and the creation of opportunity zones. For 30 years, my opponent has been a career politician in local and state governments. She has not been effective in helping the community she's represented. When the voters fired her as county commissioner, the only time in the history of Harris County when a commissioner was not reelected, her successor stated that she had used the office as a jobs program for her cronies. The new commissioner immediately fired 100 people from the payroll. That's why there was no money to fix the bridges, roads, and parks, because she was paying her cronies. Why would you want to rehire her again? I'm a bald old man with fresh ideas, and I have the energy to go to Washington to represent the 29th Congressional District. After 30 years of cronyism and mismanagement, what do you have to lose by trying someone new? Vote for the candidate that sees that you can be and
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me just say, God bless.
Your time
God
is
bless
up.
you.
Thank you.
God bless Texas. God bless America. And Viva Texas.
Senator Garcia, please. Thank you.
I found some of that kind of comical, but thank you for joining us tonight. And first, thank you to Gene Green, who for his many years of service, and I'm so pleased to have his endorsement. He's right. I've been in many offices, and I think I've said why I did that. It is to serve people, not politics and not profits. My entire career has been about public service because of my passion for helping people. My biggest priority has and always will be about creating jobs, jobs that hold families together, jobs with a good minimum wage, jobs with benefits, jobs with paid leave. I also will fight for good schools, and I will fight any attempt to arm any teachers, and I will fight to keep guns out of schools. I will be sure to look at making sure that all children have an opportunity for pre-K, and to also make sure that our teachers are paid for what they're worth. Now, I also believe in protecting the Affordable Care Act, because there are over 1.3 million people in Texas that are not insured. I will fight any attempt to cut Medicare or Social Security, and I will make sure that VA gets the funding that they need so that we can take care of our veterans. Finally, I am for comprehensive immigration reform with a pathway to citizenship. Families should not be torn apart. Our children should be with their families and not torn away from their families. I will stand up to Trump and make sure that we end his heartless immigration policy that rips children away from their mother's arms. It is inhumane, it's an unconscionable act, and it's his alone because he signed the executive orders. And make sure that we keep fighting until every child is reunited with their families.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you.
You guys have been a lovely, lovely audience. So before we finish the program, we would like to invite